and that's going to be time to invite our three guests of today, Matéo d'Ivoire, Xavier Gallego, and Alexia Venot. Welcome. So, who are you? We have the pleasure to welcome today Matéo d'Ivoire. Matéo today represents the Manufacturers National, Sèvres and the Mobilier National, who, for those who don't know, it's a public institution under the French Ministry of Culture, and it has the mission of public service dedicated to art and craft, design and decorative arts. In fact, they bring together several historic manufacturers and workshops, among those the porcelain manufacturer of Sèvres, the Gobelin and the Beauvais tapestry manufacturers, the Savonnerie Capert workshop as well, and the National Lace Atelier of Alençon and the Puy-en-Velay. They're also taking care of two national museums dedicated to ceramic and decorative arts. And Matéo, you are a Sciences Po graduate with a background in the cultural sector, spanning museums, heritage institutions and artistic creation. And you've been working closely with the president of the French National Manufacturers, Xavier, since 2022. And in fact, what you're doing is strategic matters, leading the organization Ecological Transition, and especially overseeing the decarbonization plan of the Manufacturers National, the Mobilier National, and Sèvres. So thank you for being here.
Thank you to you for inviting me.
Xavier. Sorry, I don't know everything by heart. Xavier, you are here today because you're the creative director and vice president of marketing of MycoWorks. Again, for those who don't know MycoWorks, MycoWorks is a biotechnology company dedicated to growing the future of materials. In fact, the patented fine mycelium platform engineers mycelium as it grows, crafting biomaterials of real beauty, strength, durability, and hand feel. And by the way, you will be able to touch or at least look at the shoes of Xavier, because they are made out of this material which is reishi. It's grown, it's not processed, and we will rediscuss that, which is quite amazing. And so this company is a biotech company founded by artists Philip Ross and Sophia Wong. It was founded in 2013, and it's really in the intersection of art, material science, and biology. And our last guest, last but not least, Alexia Venot. You are representing the Aleor. The Aleor Gallery. It was launched in 2024, so it's quite recent, by Nathalie Guillot, who is curator, art collector, artistic director, and founder of the Tally Foundation. For some of you, you may already know the Tally Foundation. In fact, your gallery emerged from the Regenerative Futures exhibition, right? And the gallery has two objectives: promote biodesign and act as an agency advising companies and designers on the creation of more environmentally friendly products made from renewable and biosourced materials. And Alexia, you are the executive director of the gallery, and you graduated from NSAD. You are a designer, and you are also a creative consultant specializing in biodesign. Thank you for being here. Before we dive into the topic, and I completely forgot to show you pictures, so sorry for that. And sorry. Let's see again the manufacturer that we were discussing. So just to dive into the ambiance of this world, and MycoWorks with some of your projects using the reishi, collaborations and amazing demonstration of what you can do with this material. And Aleor, the gallery that we just discussed, with an exhibition that was in Milan right? Not that long ago, with several projects from designers using renewable resources. Thank you, sorry about that. Just before we dive into the discussion, because the title is a message from designer, we have some messages from some designers over the world that we are going to have a look at through some videos.
Donc, le sujet, c'est le slow design. Donc déjà, si on veut parler de slow design, il faut déjà savoir à quoi s'oppose le slow design. Le slow design, il s'oppose au fast design, donc fast déco, fast fashion, tout le design qui est décontextualisé, dont la conception se fait de manière très très rapide et dont la qualité de l'objet est donc très très réduite. L'enjeu du slow design, c'est du coup d'aller à l'opposé du fast design, de s'opposer justement à cette rapidité, donc elle est dans la lenteur de la conception, contextualiser, faire des objets qui durent et qui soient au plus proche des usagers. Donc demain, engager une réflexion sur le design, c'est pouvoir concevoir sur un temps long, avec des étapes itératives de conception.
Great question. Slow design. Well, I'm at the salon at the moment, so sorry for the sound in the background. So I'm in Arthur's stand. So if you look at this, it's the Katifa Canva. It's a chair that's made out of our material at paper shop. So we take paper and we turn it into an advanced composite that then slows down the paper cycle. Instead of making packaging materials run on napkins of our forest, why don't we do something more advanced? And I think that, like you have social, ecological, economic and aesthetic sustainability, and also sort of redefining beauty isn't the reason why old buildings are beautiful is because the ugly things have been torn down. So aesthetic sustainability is an interesting question. I'd love to talk more about slow design.
Alberto Magnaghi, nel libro Il progetto locale, ci dice che il futuro non è dato da una somma di soluzioni standardizzate, ma si trova in una profonda relazione con i luoghi. L'autosostenibilità dell'ambiente umano è situata quindi nella costruzione di relazioni virtuose tra le componenti costitutive del territorio, l'ambiente naturale, l'ambiente antropico e l'ambiente costruito. Per alimentare con cura questo sistema sono necessari altri tipi di investimenti, non solo investimenti economici, è necessaria un'altra ricchezza, the richness of going slow.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Fezard. I'm a material designer and I co-founded our studio with Elodie Michaud. At our studio, we transform waste into new materials without petrochemicals. We only work by hand and each creation is unique and reflects our know-how. With waste, we have to start from scratch and we take the time to identify these new 21st century resources using what we have available locally. This is how we understand them better and so that we can transform and sublimate them. Our biomaterials give us the tempo to follow, one of life and nature. We can't work in a rush and we've opted for a petrochemical-free approach to work in tandem with nature. Using natural glues means dealing with the environmental condition and patiently accepting the time that it takes for our materials to stabilize and dry. As a designer, we have a responsibility to add object to the world. So let's avoid the productive approach and seek a balance to do things better and in a more gentle way.
Will the future be slower? I don't think so. Putting aside time speeding up as you get older, because as a perceived percentage of your life, a year becomes a smaller amount of time. I know that's not what we're talking about, but humans make tools, don't we? And we make tools to make things easier and faster and sort of can't help ourselves. So if we can do it more quickly, more efficiently, and with less effort, we sort of will. And then the decision to do it slower becomes a political one, a sort of identity one, a kind of one to signify wealth or craft or reasons to say, I'm not putting the bottom line first, I've got a choice about value and I'm going to value time differently, maybe. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Zoe Laughlin from the Institute of Making in London.
The world will be slower in the future because people feel exhausted by the digital world, by the rapid technology. Nature is being exhausted by technology. People around me long for digital detox and a time out from social media. AI feels like a threat. As an artist, I work with a very slow technology. In my project, Interwoven, I focus on a growing material, the root system of grass. I let the roots grow into a textile-like fabric. My process is extremely slow. The production feels like a miracle, from seed to plant. I sow, nurture, watch and harvest. But in my process, I also want to raise a question, because the harvest is also an end. The question is it possible to grow our textiles in the future? And is it right to use living, growing processes to create new materials? Or is it just another way of exploiting and using nature?
So various points of view. Let's start by, do you envision a slower future, Matéo?
Thank you very much, and for this video, it's very interesting. Just to see the approach, I'm talking from a public policy perspective, and we have in our manufacturers arts and craft people who've been working for 400 years slowly, because when you make a tapestry that makes 3 to 5 years to being made by excellence and will last 400, 500 years being restored, we are in a slow time since the 17th century. So we're still making things slowly, and from a public perspective, from a public policy perspective, our answer to this is yes, we need to be slower, and we have 3 answers for this. The first is, let's do arts and crafts. Let's go from design, from biotechnology design, or maybe keep it a bit, but let's go to art and craft, to excellence, to objects that last. Let's make chairs that will last for hundreds of years, and let's be able to repair them and to restore them, and to have art and craft objects that are also art. Because when you have an object that is art, it will last longer, people will respect it, and people will have a different perspective of what's next to them. The second is, let's enhance and legitimize designers who do a great job. One of our mission is to furnish the official places of French Republic. We furnish the Élysée Palace, we furnish the Ministry of Culture, we furnish all the embassies. Imagine if in 10 years, all the embassies have recycled chairs. See how it's legitimized differently. And so today, we make things in our manufacturers, but we also buy every year to young designers objects, and we put them in those official places. And that's the way we legitimize this work that is made by private people, because our work as a public service is to legitimize the work of private designers and everywhere in France. And the third way we do it is we work with children, with young people, to sensibilize about this. So we go in schools, we do projects with different schools, and how they can learn about arts and craft, learn about the gestures, and show that taking the time of making an object is high quality, it should be respected. So yes, we believe it should be slow, and we're working on it since 400 years, and we're continuing to have a better future.
Thank you. Xavier, do you think the future will be slower?
Well, it's hard to answer that question when I have a countdown coming up. But I do believe that the future is going to be slower. It needs to slow down to accelerate. And that's what we've been doing for 30 years in our company, developing a material that's it's coming from art, experimentation, artistic mastery, the aesthetics, and then evolving to something that people can use. So it takes time. It takes time to do something that will be able to be impactful. And I think that that's why I believe that the future needs to be slow to accelerate.
And Alexia?
Yes, I think the future will be slower, and I think with Aleor we promote designers who are working with the living. It means working with materials, valuing materials, but also valuing ecosystem. So it's following actually the rhythm of nature. And for example, with Diana Scherer, have you the artist you've seen about a root system? I think this idea of slowness, it's embodied by the ecosystem itself. And sometimes industry just go faster than living system. So our values with Aleor is also to slow down, to follow it, and to make ecosystem more regenerative. And to be more regenerative, I think that we have to slow down. But at the same time, I think there is a balance in being slower, and we need to urge, because the living cannot really wait now. So I think we also need to be quick in our action.
We're talking about living things and also this idea of slowness. How do you think that the non-standardized and the imperfection and the patina that we see in the materials that you usually work with, or the people you work with, is it something that defines a new aesthetic?
As I said, the aesthetics is defined by people themselves. So offer and demand are going to change, and we're trying to make them change in this way. But about what is imperfect, we have to work on this. And what we see that we're working with living materials since a lot of time. Wood and textile are at the start made of living material. The wool is made by sheep. We're working with them. And so, sorry, to answer the question, it's something we're trying to work with, because what you... Sorry, I think I did not get the question exactly.
Like the notion of non-standardized, does it define a new aesthetic?
No, actually, it's quite easy to make non-standardized unique objects, because you can have a creator, a designer making one object, two objects, three objects. What's going to be difficult is when you want to make a lot of them at the same time. And that's where we need industries to go in. We are at a time where I think that industries are trying to change it. That's what Xavier is making, and we're having possibilities to make it. And we're trying to support those kind of projects.
For you, the imperfection is
It is
inherent.
a beautiful tension, I have to say, because we have a beautiful natural material that has an organic behavior and personality. But everybody wants perfection. And when you show it to the brands, they want the black pebble. So I think it's important that we do the black pebble so they can see that exists, that it's in our portfolio. But understanding that a natural material will have a personality by its own, it's what we have to educate designers and makers in the world. And that to me is the tension that we are dealing with in MycoWorks with our material reishi. And that's why we partner with designers to develop that personality of the material and to be able to bring back that slowness and patina that we're talking about.
What kind of materials are the designers and artists that you are working with at the gallery usually working?
So, as I said before, we are working mostly with designers who are working with like biomaterials such as algae, mycelium, insect leather, root system like Diana Scherer. So they have this vision to value biomaterials, but also to value bioregion or way of life. For example, Marlène Wissou, she's working with beeswax, but she's also she's living in the mountain and she maintains an ecosystem. So it's more than material, it's also behaviors. And I think to go deeper with materiality, we have to think about systemic change that are not just production, but way of produce, way of living, way of behave.
How do we make sure that this movement remains something that is not reserved to only privileged people?
So yes, I think now it's a bit a niche because it has a cost. But so Nathalie Guillot, I'm working with, the founder of Aleor, also initiated the share eco-design with Decathlon in ENSAT Paris, and they were working for 3 years to think about external innovation and cross-disciplinary and to challenge the industry from the school. So I think it's also radical to change and to challenge a big industry with new and innovating and fresh ideas from the students, and to also try to make this change, radical change inside the company. So I think now our dialogue is both like with craft that we want to value, but it has also to have an impact at bigger scales, and we want to influence society with bigger scales, but it all starts with small scales, I think, and small ideas.
But, and by the way, if it's small scales, how can you influence the global supply chains?
First, I think that excellence and global supply chain does not oppose. For example, if you take living arts and opera or the dance, you have the Paris Opera, which is very expensive with excellence, which need to exist. And then you have also small dances company, which are maybe for that can go broader everywhere. And both do not oppose. And it's because you have the Paris Opera that you will have children wanting to dance later and maybe not become opera's dancer, but dancer in their hometown, etc., etc. So both do not oppose, and we think that we need to do both for it to work. And the way that we answer it for it to be affordable by everyone is also to make things last. Of course, a chair that is made by a woodworker that will spend 1 year on it will cost more than a chair made by industry. But it will last maybe for 100, 200 years. It's the furniture that you will inherit from your family and that you will keep in your family and that you will take care of keeping, not something that you will throw away at the first time you're moving. So that's where our answer is make things last, make things from biomatter, but make things last for them to be affordable and to keep the time and to be shared by the most people possible.
I want to add something, because slow design and scale or supply chain are not a contradiction. I think what we're doing in MycoWorks with Reishi, for instance, is like trying to develop a platform, which we call Find Mycelium, that allow us to take the time to grow the material, but also that can be scale up. Like we can do that at scale. And in our plant in South Carolina, we proved to the world that that's possible. It's possible when you take time and when you take time and you don't take shortcuts, because that's something that's happening a lot. There's a lot of shortcuts in life. So when you take the time to develop a good material, and then you have a platform that you can scale it up, then you have impact in a global scale.
Your material, is it very durable?
It is. Like, we go through the same test that leather does. It has the same behaviors. We use the same tools to work with it. And also, like, we're learning constantly by the designers and the brands that are using it. So it's in constant evolution. The fact that we grow it, and the fact that we are learning about the biology while we are learning how to finish it better, it makes us a unique material to play with, and it's super exciting.
And you've evaluated the impact gain compared to leather?
Well, we do have an LCA, like the life cycle analysis, that we publish it on our website by a third party, and it's 10 times lower than animal leather. But we are not here to discuss what's better. And I think, like, we're here to provide a choice for designers to be able to have opportunities to play with a different material when they're designing, to create something new. And that's why we never, like, say, this is bad, this is good. I think all is good. Having choice is great. So that's why we're here.
Do you think, in terms of you, Matteo, you're discussing traditions and crafts, do you think there is a risk of romanticizing the past?
Of course there is. I mean, anything could be romanticized. Of course there is. But what we see is that in terms of ecological transition, it is useful. Because in France at least, you have arts and know-how and arts and craft that are known in very small territories. Limoges, porcelain is in Limoges. The gloves of Milan, of Millau are in Millau. The woodworking, the tapestry working of Beauvais is in Beauvais. And you have people very attached to this in their territory, in their hometown. It's not something that is far from them. And so when you talk to them saying, look, this object, it's lasting. This object, it means something to you. This is an ecological way. It's a low carbon way of producing, and it's been existing for 400 years. It means something to them. It's not something that is new, that is a stranger. So of course there is a risk of romanticizing, but in terms of ecological transition, it's useful. And if I had to romanticize it, I would choose to do it for the better good.
And do you have examples of traditional techniques, ancestral techniques, or local techniques that have inspired innovative, sustainable designs?
Yeah, sure. Well, tapestry is at first that is made by wool. Now we're doing research to use wool in another way, or to use other things than wool. So we've been using plants to tie. The thing is, plants last less long in time, so it's a question we're asking, because it's made from biomaterials, but it will last less than 400 or 500 years. So it's a choice we have to make. And woodworking or dyeing with the colors, now we have more and more designers using natural colors. We talked about it later. Tony Joanneau, which is working both, which is using natural plants to dye. Just as we made in the time, there was a time where we were dyeing only with natural colors and plants, and then we switched to chemical dyeing, and now we're realizing that you can make great artworks with plants, and it means something to people. So yeah, we're seeing young designer using traditional way of doing things and having a comeback to this.
What would you say this type of way of looking at design, this durability, does it have an expression, a material, emotional and cultural expression, the desirability of slow design? Or
Yes, I mean, for me, designer or artists we are working with living beings, much more than with products. So they have to take care of them, they have to maintain them, they have to feed them as we feed the soil, for example. So I think they have an emotional link and relationship with materials and with design and products that can give the aura as well to this. I think industry cut down with emotion, I think. This is why I think when we craft with your hand, when you are taking care about the soul, when you can control with your own scale, then the relationship change. And I think it's really holistic. It means like it begins with a seed, and then you begin a house, and then a bigger scale. And then I think we should have this kind of relationship, more connecting to nature and connecting to our materials, and keep this relationship.
what is the project for all three of you that has amazed you the most?
It's hard to pick one, but I think we've seen a lot of acceptance by households like Hermes when they play with the material, when they feel the material. And I was laughing before when Alexia was talking, because the conversations that we have in our workspace, talking about how the mycelium grows, is very romantic. You know, like we want the mycelium to thrive, to colonize, to grow. And I was laughing because it's like, yes, that's how we talk. We talk about a material that is growth, that is natural, then you can feel it. And actually, the hand feel of our material that potentially we have a few samples that you can all touch later. That's what drive Hermes to use it, to continue using it. General Motors to include it in the interior of the cars. Ligne Rosé to launch a couch that is available for all of us to buy it if you want to. So these are the examples of slowly, which is the magical word, but surely we are getting into the market, and people want materials that are responsible, but also have quality and hand feel and an emotional connection to the object.
For you, Alexia, what would be maybe the project that you exhibited at the gallery or that you have been the most impressed by?
I think it's a difficult question because all the designers have their own complexity and their own context, so I can't really compare. They have all of them singularity in their work, but maybe I can talk about one who is a bit more connected to what I did before, but maybe because I think that I was really impressed by Diana Scherer's works. She's a pioneer in biodesign, and it's difficult to maintain and to showcase the process of the living itself, because it's under soil, rooted systems are not visible, and she continues and works really hard on only one processes of growth during 20 years. And I think it's really, really, it's also important to focus now because we have lots of dispersion with digital and new technology and lots of, but to being focused in one processes to go deeper, it's also maybe a solution to be more like slower as well. Because you can see in a root system the world itself. Like it's talking about the landscape, it's talking about our relationship, it's talking about the textile craftsmanship itself. Like it's a metaphor with so much layers, and it's also a technology. Like the living is a technology. So.
And Matéo, an impressive project?
I would probably talk about Les Aliénés, the alienated, which is the project we made with old furniture that is not useful anymore. And what we're making as a public service, we're inviting artists and designers to reinvent them. So we have people taking a chair and making a chair with tapestries on it. We have someone taking a table and making dinosaurs with his know-how. And this becomes, instead of being something that we couldn't use anymore, it becomes new arts and crafts. It becomes new arts object that we use and that we lend to official places. So it's objects that are sometimes simple because we did not have use of them anymore. It's some chair that is 300 years old and it was somewhere in our collection. We don't really know how sometimes, and it's just now it's reinvented by an artist, and it has a new life for hundreds of years again. Les Aliénés.
I'm gonna finish with one question to again all of you. If you had a message to pass along, which one would it be?
To stop looking at nature, to stop getting inspired by it, to start working with it, to start collaborating with it. I think that's my message. We've been very passive. I'm like, okay, let's look at it. Let's go to the beach. Look how beautiful this is. But we never thought on partnering with it to create something. We've been extracting instead of collaborating.
We've been considering nature as something else than ourselves. We're part of nature, right? Alexia, a message?
Yes, I think we need to be radically more collective and to cross-disciplinary. I think we really need to face this systemic crisis to open radically our mind to every disciplines, every collective work, I think this is a way to change it faster.
And my message is to go and see around of you, each and every one of you, arts and craft people, craftsmanship who work next to where you live, because you probably have some people next to where you live, and you'll see that when they make an object that you can sit on, that you can see, that you can touch, it's so wonderful. You want to keep it, and you want to keep it for hundreds of years.
Thank you to all of you. I hope you enjoyed this talk, and what I can invite you to do is just to slow down. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.